Really, the goal is just to use our stories to bring veterinary medicine to life for the pet caretakers of the world. And we're doing it because we believe that educating these caretakers is the most powerful thing that we can do to improve the life quality of all of the pets that we love. Hey everybody, we're back. It's Dr. Natalie Keith.
Dr. Mariah Goodall.
And this is Vet Tales. So today we're going to talk about time-relevant things like the holidays. Yeah. I told Dr. Goodall I was going to actually what I said was I feel like my sarcasm is going to be off the Richter scale with this one. I love holiday season. It's so fun.
In the vet world, it's great.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of things that go awry during the holiday season.
There are, because everyone's stressed.
Yes.
Traveling.
Yeah. Changing dietary habits.
Yeah.
Yes. Mixing
families.
Doing pet groups included.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so much stress. I do like Christmas lights, so I still have that going for me, and Christmas songs.
Love decorating for Christmas.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's my, like, the last little thing I'm still holding on to from the joys I once had as a child. Okay. Anyway. It's fine. We're fine. It's fine. So basically, so we thought, well, let's talk about, in general, just, what can we do for at least our pets to minimize the trauma they experience during this lovely season.
Right? Well, because for them, like, it's just another day.
Yeah, they don't understand why we're all behaving odd.
Yeah.
And doing all these different things and breaking every routine and...
And, there's people and other things and...
Yes.
The whole house is changing because you're switching out the decor.
Yes.
That stress is blitzing out.
Yeah, and then the cats just want to be in the tree. And they don't, like, why can't I just be in the tree? Honestly. I'm a cat. I should be in the tree.
Some of the ways people come up with to keep their cats out of the tree, and the cat still ends up in the tree.
Of course they do.
Hanging
They're
it
cats.
from the ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
And there's still a cat in
No
there.
doubt. Finally, they just get a glass tube
Yep.
to encircle the entire tree once it's decorated. It goes floor to ceiling.
That's almost what you'd have to do.
Yeah, and
with
then
some cats.
You have, my mother-in-law used to have this, like, Christmas tree rotator base, so then like you could still see every decoration, every angle of the tree. It'd just be inside a tube.
Wow, that's fancy.
Yeah, I don't know if how fancy it sounds fancy.
It sounds fancy, yeah.
But it may just be like a glorified like turntable device with a battery. I don't know.
I don't know.
But anyway, she does make a beautiful Christmas tree.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So what do you want to tackle first?
Let's talk about mixing new pet groups.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
that's the biggest fallout. Yeah.
A lot of times you can kind of predict some of the other hazards, but that one, it's like I think people don't quite expect for, Fluffy, who loves everyone who walks in, to not love Fido when he comes over.
Right.
And so you get, or, you drop a piece of Christmas ham. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, two dogs that have been getting along but don't quite have their pecking order established are in a tussle.
Yes, because that's a prize right there.
It is.
Dropped ham.
Who wouldn't want a piece?
Yeah, I mean, worth the fight. Totally worth the fight over that one.
So I think, just be really cognizant that your dogs, or cats, I don't know who's introducing new cat groups to each other.
Yeah, I feel like cat... No, so I would say, like, with the dog that comes over to the cat's house, and then, of course, the cat is like, no thank you on these extra humans.
Yes, already stressed.
Yes.
And then this dog thing.
But the dog going into a new environment is the wild card that winds you up at the emergency room getting stitches. Mm-hmm. Like, you or the dog or everyone.
Or everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I think our recommendation is just, you know, when you have the food out or you don't know how the dogs are going to interact, like, have a backup plan. You know, a spare bedroom or something like that.
Yeah, or, you know, a crate. Like, so let's, you know, and people can get super weird about this. Like, this is their baby. Of course they're coming over for Thanksgiving. You know, this Fido is their baby, and this is Fluffy's house. You know, if you're hosting and you're Fluffy's mom, just put Fluffy in the crate and let Fido come over for the afternoon, you know, and just avoid the whole interaction. If that's, you know, if it's going to be a once a year thing, we don't need these dogs to necessarily integrate. Now, if the dogs are going to be there for, if they're coming for like a week, let's say, then a slow integration is probably worth it. But if it's like just for dinner, just put Fluffy in the crate.
Well, and even, I mean, so my dad brings his dog over to our house, and one of our dogs does not really like other dogs that aren't in her group. And so when he's over, she gets the spare bedroom, and then a couple hours a day is her time to come out, and Dad puts his dog up. And so we just alternate for the 3 days to a week that my dad's usually here. And so that way we're never having to worry about, is Tess going to do something that's setting Rizzo off?
Right, and then all of a sudden, you have an irreversible problem. So yes, prevention is paramount for so many things, but dog fights are in that.
Absolutely.
Yes. I've sewn up many a dog on Thanksgiving.
Yes, it happens often.
Yeah. So, you know, as far as our kitty cats go, just let them go hide in the room, close the door. Don't tell the grandkids where the cat hides.
Yes. Ask your guests to just respect your cat's space. Otherwise, you may end up with the cat that's here blocked 2 days after Thanksgiving.
Right. I mean, yeah, so cats, you know, obviously you worry about, you know, will the cat scratch somebody, and that's an issue. But they will get, it's so weird that this is what their body does, but they get what we call sterile or stress cystitis. So their bladder will just get all kinds of angry, inflammation. They'll throw fibrin and clots, and then we have a blocked cat, especially if it's a male.
That happened, so when my grandmother died. And we had all these people over, and the house was, I mean, you know, she was in hospice care for not very long, just like a week or two, but hospice at home, and so the house was all messed up, and so the day of her funeral, we couldn't find Petey, one of their cats, and he was hiding behind my grandfather's desk, and I felt him, and I was like, oh, he's blocked. Because
he had a grapefruit in his lower abdomen.
He did, yes. And so the morning of my grandmother's funeral, luckily it was in the afternoon, I'm at this vet clinic in this town that I don't live in. As a client, explaining to them, I know he's blocked. I need you to take care of it so I can go be with my family. Gravy. And, like, that wasn't even a holiday.
No.
Thank goodness.
But same concept, because like you said, the cats have no idea if it's Thanksgiving or Grandma's funeral. They just know they don't like all these extra things. The change.
It's very stressful for them. And so, that's not where you want to end up, if at all possible. So, let them do their thing. If you have cats that are really prone to stress, maybe you don't have family over for a week. You know, if you want to host that day, that's probably fine.
But prolonged. You know, and there's also, like, if you also know you have a pet that's really prone to stress, dogs or cats, you know, you may think about an anti-anxiety medication just for those 2 or 3 days. Those are definitely available and safe, and we have them that will be short-acting like that, just for a couple of days.
And so, if you need something like that, holler at us now.
Not the day before Thanksgiving. Please.
Because we might be out before Thanksgiving.
We might, we're only here till noon, so, you know, it's all about planning ahead for these guys. So, which like, I hope this podcast goes out before Thanksgiving. I may have to change my order.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Look at me thinking about stuff on the fly. Welcome to behind the scenes of Vet Tales.
Right. There is no schedule.
There is nope. No, we talked about Halloween after Halloween. And we're doing National Diabetic Day was actually yesterday, or World Diabetes Day. And that podcast isn't going to come out for like 3 weeks.
It's fine.
It's fine.
the information's getting out there.
Yeah, and the World Diabetes Day caused us to think about it.
Yeah.
And then to create.
Which is the point.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
On top of it. So, anyway, so back to today's topic of holidays and such. Let's move on to diet changes and such.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's just another day for your pets.
Yeah.
It might be a weird day in their life, but it's just another day. So they don't need to sample every bit of Thanksgiving dinner.
To not feel left out, yeah.
You know, stick with their regular diet because you don't want to be in here a day or two after Thanksgiving with a dog who's vomiting blood and bloody diarrhea, not eating. Because they have pancreatitis from whatever.
The ham.
Yes, ham. Or
anything with a lot of butter in it. Any fatty stuff.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah, like this, just anything that's going to be high in fat is going to be super risky for creating pancreatitis. They just don't handle fat the same way that we do, especially when they're not accustomed to it, and they will just get really sick.
They will.
I mean, they can even get just like, I guess we maybe should have talked about this with the stress, but a lot of dogs, even if they're not getting in dog fights, and you know, they'll get stress diarrhea. And so then you got to deal with that too. Yep. So there's lots of reasons why dogs get diarrhea.
Yeah, there is. That's
especially on holidays.
But yes, especially on holidays. I mean, another story on my end. Rizzo does that every time we board her.
Yeah.
Like 2 days later, she's back here in the hospital with bloody diarrhea.
Yeah.
My husband is stressed out of his mind. She's his dog.
Yes.
And I'm like, she'll be fine.
Yes.
She just needs fluids, but she needs fluids.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
And you don't, again, you know, when you have guests over, you don't necessarily want to do that. So if you have a dog who, you know, is prone to stress, or if you're like wildly changing their routine, if it's normally just you and your dog and suddenly you're having, you know, 5-10 people over, then think ahead about, you know, do I need to do something to help them out? And maybe we just start with probiotic.
Yeah. I mean, never hurts to preload with a probiotic.
Yeah. Because that way we can hopefully help support that gut flora, and maybe we just loose stools instead of blow out diarrhea.
Yeah, for sure. Like when your dog's defecation process has sound effects.
Yes.
Like it's not a good day. Not a good day.
No one wants that.
And usually, like if you catch it quickly, you can absolutely get through it with just some go home meds. But if they're getting pancreatitis, back to the diet change especially, like they're gonna have to stay in the hospital.
Yes, most likely.
Yeah.
And then that just ruins Thanksgiving.
It really does. It
ruins Christmas, maybe.
Yeah, because there went your Christmas budget to your dog's hospital stay.
Sorry, I get a tree this year.
Yeah, right. Brutal. Oh man.
His fluffy feels better.
Also get insurance for your dogs.
Yes.
I like to plug that in every time we talk about how expensive veterinary medicine can be. Like.
Yeah.
I wish I could fix that, but I can't. But I can recommend insurance.
Because that's gonna help at least smooth out some of those bumps on the road.
Yeah, I mean, in here it's not so bad, but if you have to go to an emergency hospital, or if you're out of state, and I mean, so, like, I've seen some vet bills from big cities like in Colorado and stuff, and it's next level. It's, you know, so definitely insurance is going to be game changer.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, what about if you're the one traveling with your dog? And hopefully not your cat, but like if maybe you've got that cat that is cool to go with you, but otherwise get a house sitter.
Yeah, honestly, don't take your cats.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a Bengal or something, I get it. Those guys are up for a road trip, but most cats, just get a house sitter.
Yeah. I mean, you hear so many stories about people who do try and travel with their cats, and the cat ends up, like, escaping the hotel room.
Yes.
Or, you know, jumping out at the gas station.
Or blocked before they get home.
Before they get home, and then you're stuck in who knows where.
Yeah, halfway between where you started and where you were going at a vet clinic for 3 days while they unblock your cat so it doesn't die.
You're like, I'm going to keep going. I'll be by to pick it up when I come back.
Right? No doubt. 3 days of hospital and 3 days of boarding, please. Yep. With 3 days of anti-anxiety medication.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're traveling with a pet who does not normally travel, anxiety medication, for sure, you're going to want that. Or even pets that do travel. I mean, Sadie, another story on my end.
You're just full of it. I really don't. I'm so bland today.
Yeah, I do a lot more traveling with my pets, I think, than you do.
That's probably true. Yeah.
But Sadie, we traveled to Missouri multiple times a year with her, and she had to have trazodone before we got in the car because she would just be so anxious about the car ride itself. She loved going places.
It was just being in the car. It is a rather unnatural process when you think about it.
It is, and it's
in a hunk of metal moving 75 miles an hour down a...
It was highway speeds, too, that would, mess her up. Like, if we were just traveling in town, we'd normally be okay for about 20 minutes, but once we hit the highway, it didn't matter how long we'd been in the car. She was like, this is unnatural.
Right. And that was correct.
Yes.
Correct assessment.
So, yeah, I mean, if you have a pet that doesn't travel a whole lot, be prepared for anything. I would probably ask your vet if they could send you some anxiety medications, even if it's just a couple days worth, in case you need it.
Yep.
Nausea medications aren't a bad idea either.
Car sickness, yeah.
Blitzen.
This is great.
I'm just, these are all the things I experienced during my holidays. But I do have a dog who gets car sick. He actually does okay on the highway. It's when we get off the highway into, like, the curvy
and you're making,
roads. Yeah, he, turns green.
Me too, Blitzen. Me too.
So, actually, I'm so glad we're starting to keep the Meropitant, the generic Cerenia tablets, because I used to take Cerenia injections with us. Because ondansetron was
just doesn't cut it. Yeah, for motion sickness, it really doesn't. And it's wild because that Cerenia, we use the generic, the Meropitant citrate, which... it's interesting that the labeled dose for motion sickness is like wild. 8 times for just like normal nausea. Yeah. Like your dog gets upset stomach because he, got into the pumpkin pie, then you need like 2 milligrams, 1 to 2 milligrams per kg or something. And then it's like if we're going to be traveling, you need 8 to 10 milligrams per kg for motion sickness. So that tells you a little something about motion sickness.
Yeah, and how it triggers the brain there.
Yes.
So.
No, you are nauseous. No, you do need to vomit.
Yes. Yes, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's another thing that you can just ask for preemptively if you don't know how your pet travels.
Yeah, it's so safe. Mm-hmm. Have it if you need it. If you don't need it, great.
Yeah. Health certificates.
Yeah, and vaccines. Let's do that.
Real quick, yeah. So if you are crossing state lines, legally you need a health certificate. You can get that from us. We are USDA accredited.
Woo!
Woo! So we can write you health certificates. And yeah, anytime you're crossing state lines, if you're going to fly, most airlines are going to require some sort of health certificate. You
will not get on the plane without a health certificate. Mm-hmm. You can gamble in the car. Most people do, I feel like, just drive without one. But, like, if you run into that trooper who's just really having a rough day, you're going to wish you had one.
Yeah, you are. And, proof of vaccine, make sure you take that with you.
Yeah.
Especially if you do end up in a dog fight situation.
Mercy.
They're going to want that.
Well, and beyond that, like, you need to make sure your pet is vaccinated before you're traveling as well. Because, like, flu, for example, we used to not really, at least in Oklahoma, have to deal with that. But now it's a really common thing. We just tested 2 dogs yesterday that I am sure are going to come back positive. And it's just, it's going around. So if you're not traveling and you're boarding your pet, I guess all of these same things can apply too, like probiotics, anxiety medications, vaccines. Like, got to make sure you're current on this stuff. So, and then of course rabies for legal reasons.
Yeah, you want to make sure you've got that. But yeah, absolutely, flu and Bordetella. Everything.
Lepto.
Oh, yes.
Especially
if you're going to grandma's.
Yeah.
And grandma lives on a farm or
well,
just a few acres.
Like, or if you're going to be traveling long distances and stopping at those places that have, like, dog public drinking waters, a lot of times, like, raccoons will drink out of that overnight, and that's a really great way. Like, back in Chicago, it's been, gosh, maybe 15 years ago, but they used to not vaccinate little dogs for your lepto. They'd be like, no, it's just for farm dogs, just for farm dogs. And then the biggest lepto outbreak that has ever happened was like it was mostly Yorkies in Chicago that were drinking out of dog park water sources that raccoons were drinking at overnight, and like I don't even know how many hundreds of lepto cases there were in these unvaccinated dogs. So now the rule is everyone gets vaccinated. Yeah. Well, it's a lot safer vaccine than it used to be, too. So you don't worry about it like you used to.
It does not have the reaction rates it used to.
Yeah. 15 years ago was a different story, but they have changed it in a ton of ways since then. So we don't really struggle with it now.
Yeah. So if your breeder said, don't vaccinate your Yorkie, please vaccinate your Yorkie.
Yes. I know. I had a breeder once. This is a tangent, but I haven't come up with a story yet. So there was this lady that comes in with a boxer, and she told me that her breeder said that it could not have Bordetella vaccine because Bordetella kills boxers. And I was just like, I don't even know how to work with that statement. There's just nothing even remotely accurate about that. Like, not even like a wives' tale I could reference back to or anything. I was just like, no, that's wrong. But a lot of dogs with, like, especially the little dogs, the Havanese, the Yorkies, the Shih Tzus, Maltese, they'll be like, my breeder said they can't have lepto. Well, your breeder is working off of information that's 20 years old. So here's the current information.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just get a little bit upset about that sometimes.
I mean, it is upsetting. We've had a case that really suspected lepto, and then the owner of the dog got sick.
And we suspect that was lepto, and they would not vaccinate because the breeder told them not to. And they were like, well, but this breed of dog is super susceptible to dying of lepto vaccines. And I was just like, no, they aren't.
Yeah.
No, they aren't. And then the dog gets, lepto is tough to diagnose, but anyway, a huge tangent, basically to say lepto is everywhere, flu is everywhere, Bordetella is everywhere. You need to be getting your dogs vaccinated before you travel and or board, especially boarding.
Especially boarding, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like going on a cruise ship. Just plan on coming back with COVID, like, but this is going to be kennel cough for your dog.
Which is frustrating, annoying, and not, the dog, if your dog gets kennel cough at Thanksgiving, it will still be coughing at Christmas.
It's going to mess up your whole holiday season.
It will. And you're going to be tired of hearing coughing. You're going to be tired because you're not sleeping. And all of your Christmas opening videos is going to have
a dog coughing. That's right. Luckily, it's usually relatively self-limiting, depending. But there's so many things that cause kennel cough. Some of them are very, very scary. And some of them are like, meh, that's annoying, like a cold, you know. But prevent what you can.
Absolutely.
So, and then get it all down on the health certificate. And then a lot of times, like we, for example, have pet desks, so you can see your vaccine records on your phone. You can they're with you everywhere you go. And a lot of different software systems that different veterinarians have will have like a client portal, so you can see your vaccine records digitally as well. So those are always options too, so you're not like, looking through the glove box for where do I...
Fumbling through the papers.
Yes.
So those are great resources to be able to see, even right now, what is my dog possibly coming up due for?
Yeah.
And can I get it taken care of now?
Ahead of time. Yeah, it doesn't hurt, especially on those adult dogs, to just do it a little bit early versus running the end of the length of those vaccine coverages, because Bordetella, it used to only be a 6-month vaccine, and now we're kind of pushing it out to a year. It is improved, but it's still like not solid. And then same for lepto. Some of those strains, it's not covering for a full 12 months. They speculate more like 11. But if we start asking dog owners to bring their pets in every 11 months, they're going to kill us.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like, well, Kind of.
Yeah, a little bit, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all that's all I can think of, the diet, probiotics, stress meds, travel meds, vaccines, health certificates, social integration or lack thereof.
Yeah. I mean, I think the moral of the story is just be prepared.
Yeah.
Don't just throw your pet into holiday season and not have a plan for what you're doing with them.
Yeah. Yeah, and, and maybe being prepared for what if something does go wrong, where I'm going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, if your mom and dad don't have a pet and don't have a veterinarian, but you're traveling out of state to go visit them, maybe do some research on what veterinarians are in that area. Because you can't call us in Oklahoma and ask us to fill you scripts in Arkansas. We can't do it. It's not legal, and so we're not going to be able to just get you meds once you're gone.
Right.
So be prepared for where you're going as well.
Mm-hmm. And know any hours that those clinics may have.
Yeah. Emergency hospitals in the area, if they're just on-call services, or if they actually have, a 24-hour care facility, depending on the size of where you're going, the size of the community. But, yeah, preparedness. Preparedness is the moral of this story.
It is.
So with all of that being said, Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I think that's all the things.
That's all the holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
Well, that's a fair point. Oh my gosh, I'm probably missing other ones.
Yes, Kwanzaa.
This is why people say happy holidays. But I think the reason I was saying multiple ones is to be like, don't forget, this goes on for 2 stinking months. It isn't one and done.
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, cool. Well, if you guys have any questions, as always, we're here, Northside Veterinary Hospital, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Just also I know what I needed to say. If anybody's still listening, thank you, first of all. Secondly, there have been a couple of questions that were put up on Spotify. They do not let me respond to those questions directly. So I have to, you can't comment back on those. So if you want a direct answer, email us, text us, something like that. So one of the questions that was asked was about the foods that were grain-free, but they're also AAFCO labeled, and how is that working? And so I just want to say the AAFCO standards are really based off of protein and carb and fat ratios and caloric intake, and not necessarily going into things like, is there potentially a taurine deficiency with grain-free diets? So just because it has an AAFCO label doesn't mean the grain-free food could not potentially cause DCM in your dog. And so if you're feeding a grain-free food and you don't want to change it, once again, we just encourage you to throw some grain on top, cook some rice, give them some rice on top of their food every so often. So if I see questions posted that I cannot respond to, I'll just tag them at the end of other episodes, just for bonus content for the people who listen. Thanks for listening to us, or we wouldn't have any reason to do this. So, okay, that's all. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.